When you discovered the law of attraction, you started to believe anything was possible. Life got better, much better. Now you want more, but it's not working. That's where the Manifest It Now show comes in. If you've been waiting for someone who can teach you the practical application to manifest quicker and easier while having more, turn the volume up, because the dynamic duo, Cassie Parks and Ginny Gane, are ready to teach you how to live the law of attraction like they do. It's time to laugh and learn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Manifest It Now. I'm here with Cassie Parks.
And I'm here with Ginny Gane.
And our topic for today, we're going to talk about how you can support someone in crisis. Yeah. LOA style.
Yeah, of course, LOA style, because
of course.
That's why you're here, and you know that, like, you have the power to influence reality even when it's someone else's, like, without directly, like, controlling it or doing it for them. You know that your energy participates. And so, yeah, we want to tell you how to support somebody like that, LOA style, because it's a good reminder for everyone, I think.
Yeah, I get a lot of questions on this, actually, because it's like, okay, but I'm supposed to, think what's positive and focus on what feels good, and then but this person's in crisis, how can I feel good about that? So this will be good.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely touch on that part too.
What's exciting, Cass?
Oh, it's exciting, so much. There's just a lot of shift and change and growth in my life, which, as I say that, I'm like, that's all the time. But sometimes it's just like, oh, this is happening, and sometimes it's a little more concrete. Like, I'm really excited. X goes back to school next week, and like, so we were on, like, learning about the schedule, because it's all online. We're actually going to keep him online all year. And so, like, hearing, okay, like, getting the information about the schedule, I was like, oh, okay, so this is just, it was cool, because I had this thought, like, okay, I'm going to have like 30-minute pockets, or, and obviously we're like doing this together, but, if it's my turn or whatever, I'm going to have 30 minutes, which I'm really excited about, because I feel like it's going to give me the opportunity to make some stronger choices or up-leveled choices, because it's like, oh, what do I want to do for 30 minutes? And I'm excited about that, like, about choosing that, and just sort of being in that place where just sort of outside things are giving that a little more of a highlight. Yeah.
I like how you're choosing that perspective, because some people might view that as like, oh, now my day is so regimented and I only have 30 minutes. But this is how Deliberate Creator does it. Is like, great, this is a new opportunity, and this is, for me.
Yes. Well, and I'm excited. Like, so if anyone has that sort of feeling, like Jenny, or like, oh, like, but I can't get into anything. I think it's, I see it as a real cool opportunity for my brain and my intentions to both work together, and for me to see that even stronger. Even though I know how works, for me, it's a little more opportunity to practice, like, oh, I'm going to work on this, and I'm going to accomplish this in the next 30 minutes, right? And I get to choose, like, oh, do I want to get the laundry done, or do I want to write this newsletter article? And really noticing and being able to, focus, and seeing, like, oh, yeah, I got that done in 20 minutes. That's awesome. I told my brain that's what I wanted to do, and I did it. Check. What am I going to do for the rest of the time?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we limit ourselves in terms of, like, oh, I only have 30 minutes is, well, I can't do anything in that time. And so we don't do anything, versus starting or getting into it or setting it up so that we can do something.
Yeah. Or even setting the intention, like, right? We get, this is really good, like, LOA, like, a lot of times people will get like, well, I can't, or what can I do? And then you get in a loop of trying to figure it out, instead of like, what do I want to do right now? I want to write an article. I want to listen to music, because it doesn't have to be a work thing, right? We get to choose. I want to go for a walk. Like, this is going to be the walk time, or this is going to be the time I do this. Yeah, I often think we limit each other, and you get stuck in that some people can get stuck in that loop of what do I do, or how do I do it, or I can't do it in a half an hour, instead of like, okay, this is what I want, because I know from past experience, so I'm building on that. You can start practicing if that's you. I know in moments when I've done that, it's been spectacular. And so I'm excited to just get a little more practice.
That is exciting.
Yeah. And that just goes in line with like, there's so much opening and so many just new opportunities and things coming up. And I was reading a script this morning. I needed to go back through. It was in my assignments because I do my own assignments. And I went back to, it was like my story from the last workshop. And I read something and I'm like, oh, that totally just that's happening. Like, not just happened, but it's happening in a different way. And it was even comforting in a way, because there's new opportunities happening in our house and sort of some job shifting and some other things going on. And it was like, you could easily see it as like, oh, it's half of what I want, but it's not the whole thing. But what I chose to see is like, ooh, half of it's there. That means the rest of it is there.
Is coming.
Is
or
coming.
You mean, is
Yeah.
there is coming.
Is coming, but is like already in the works. Like, yes, coming, but even not that far off. Like, it's going to be in the present when that other thing is in the present. So the thing, I don't know what, it's like working from home. It's being at home with my love and like being at home and doing the things that we love. And so when I read that, I'm like, oh, obviously, like I already knew this new opportunity was going to be amazing. But I read that and I'm like, of course, like we're bumping into, because I had like written something like, I love bumping into each other in the hallways, like at home, it's like quotation marks, like at work, when you bump into your coworkers. And, and so it was just like, oh, and like doing things that we love. And I'm like, great, that was confirmation. I already knew this is going to be an amazing opportunity, but it was just confirmation. Like, yes, like this has been created. This is amazing. This is going to be even better than we think.
Yeah.
So I have lots to be excited about. How about you, Jen?
I also have lots to be excited about.
I know.
I feel most excited right now about everything happening with students and clients, and it just feels like another level, like couples who've been separated are getting back together, and that just fills my heart. I have people buying vision board cabins, people getting jobs, people having birthdays that they never thought would feel so good. It's just celebrating those and the engagement and how many people are showing up. There was one woman who had written a letter at the beginning of the year and she was reading it now and she's like, all these things happened, not exactly the way, but they've all happened in the middle of a pandemic. And that was exciting. It just feels like there's this big energy of manifestation happening, and that feels exciting. Like I get to be tapped into that every day, and I feel extremely excited about that.
So cool, right?
Yeah, totally.
I love it.
All right, so where do you want to start with our topic today?
Where do I want to start? I think I want to start here is like, so just maybe naming a little bit, like in crisis, like something happens, somebody has to go to the hospital, it looks like someone is sick or they're handling a health issue, is very often sort of crisis, right? Something, or, their house burns down, like all of these are things that, they can happen, right? It's not, and so
they do happen.
They do happen, right? And when you understand sort of how to support people through these, both deal with your own emotions and support people, you can give the best energy, like we talked about in the beginning. Like as deliberate creators, we know that our thoughts, our energy, like everything has the power to create what we want, which is everybody, mostly I'm guessing, like you can put your own words to this, but like people in my life to be happy and healthy and taken care of. And so anytime that we can contribute that energy, it feels good. And that's who we want to be. I'm just going to assume that everyone listening to us is awesome, and they always want to contribute that energy, not just for their own life, but contribute it as a gift to others, not as like a, oh, I want this to go this way or that way, but as a, I can give my gift of energy. Like I have that, and we see that as the most powerful thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really instinctual human characteristic as well, to want what's best for other people, and most specifically the people who are close to us and who we love. And so with all the best intentions, we usually will go into a situation like that. Like, I want to help this person. And that's kind of like where it starts. And we so often go into action mode right away. And I think it's really valuable to, in this process, if someone you know is going through crisis, to step back for a second before jumping in and getting yourself in alignment with who you want to be in that experience, because that's really going to help you, just like Cass said, bring that energy that's going to best support them into the situation.
Absolutely. And I want to highlight, because I think you made an important point that I want to highlight for everybody. It's where we get off. So we always, like, it is instinctual and human to want the best for the people around us and the people that we love, for our tribe. That is who we are. That's how we've thrived in the past. Like, it's instinctual. And the thing that, you know, you, Jenny, it's like we want to jump in and we want to help, right? And Jenny talked about getting in alignment, because often I think where this gets off, because people can go into help mode without intention. And sometimes that's just necessary, right? Like there, and we'll talk kind of a little like different levels. Like sometimes, you know, I always, my friend was always, you know, she's like, your mom is really good at that, like jump in. And one time my mom, we were at her condo downtown, and she went to like the front desk, which was on a different floor. You had to take an elevator to get something. I don't know what, or maybe she went to get the mail. I don't know. But she was gone a really long time, and she comes back and she's like soaking wet. She's like, I'm going to find some buckets. And we were like, what happened? She's like, oh, somebody like burst their water pipe trying to put in a closet organizer. And so I went up and I helped them like shut off the water and tried to help them like mop up the water. And like, so in certain moments, like that's right. If there's water spewing out of the wall, you're like, and that is a crisis, you know, it's different than health, but that's a crisis. Like that is number one, right? Like stop the water.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I guess when it's like an immediate crisis, like it requires action, don't stop and think about your action. Just
right.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
But
then, you know, that helping, when we go in like, oh, I want to help them, even though that comes from this very intrinsic place often, and I haven't found the words yet for, you know, kind of how we want to do it, but you want to have more of an intention to support that future vision, because we can help in the moment, but when we have that future vision, like, okay, they're coming out healthy and wealthy and well, or however that is, when we're starting from that, we can help better. We can show up differently and support the process differently.
Totally. One of the things that comes from help is when we're like, even in this idea, like something is wrong, I need to help that person. So there's a problem, and all of that energy that you go into it with, that you start with, is focused on the problem. And the other assumption that we make in this idea of we need to help someone is that they don't have the answers within themselves, which is never true. Right. And always what is best for someone's path is going to come from within them. You know, there might be guidance, there might be support, there might be openings and new information come in that you can help provide, but it always comes from them. So it's a false idea that you're going to give them the solution, because they have to be in the place to receive it. So coming back, this is why it's important for you to pause, and I'm talking about like more when there's longer time in a crisis, not an immediate something, where there's time to handle a situation. And so just like Cass said, getting clear on that vision of what you and they want and going in from that place instead of going in from the problem, and the problem being the most active in you. Like, okay, this is your pain, this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem. How can I help?
Because what, in essence, and Jenny said this, I'm just going to highlight it. Like, we're asking, how can I help you solve that problem, right?
Yeah.
And again, like, I love, because I think this is such an important part as I was thinking about this topic that Jenny brought up, is like, if we believe everybody has it in them, like, we can, that doesn't mean there's nothing for us to do, or there's no way for us to support them, which is always the word that I use. Like, and if I'm doing a workshop, I'll always say, like, instead of can I help you, like, how can I support you get that answer? How is there any way I can support you today? Because supporting them is walking along, in my vision, like, it's walking along the path with them and maybe getting them a drink of water. And again, there might be more things in this. This is just metaphorically, like getting them a water versus pulling them along, you know, or resting,
Clearing the
sitting,
path.
resting. Yeah, clearing the path in front, sitting down and resting when they need a rest, right? Because it's supporting their own guidance system. And often when we want to jump in and we want to do all and we want to fix the problem, we're taking away that opportunity of that guidance system to show up.
I 100% agree, clearly. And I think one of the things I talk about a lot in this area is like hold the space. And I think that's what you're talking about too, in terms of like tuning into that vision. And oftentimes it's you holding it for them before they can even get there, because they are having the full experience of their crisis and you are at least somewhat removed. So it's almost like your job is to hold the vision, hold the energy of that health or of that ease or of the financial freedom or whatever the crisis is.
Yes. And that is like, it's okay. And I think one of the questions that might come up is like, oh, but like, how do I know what they want? It doesn't have to be this specific. It's like, it's the better place, right? It's the healed, it's the living, it's the loving, it's the whatever it is, right? In this general sense, like, you can get to this place where you feel good, right? And you can hold that space for them, which is so important, because again, we started this episode talking about the energy that you contribute. And when you're contributing that space, that energy, everything else flows differently.
Yeah. And in a practical sense, like, sometimes this means just going and being with someone else, like just being physically present, or if that's available, doesn't even need to be talking about anything. It can going for a walk without talking, or sitting in a room without talking, and that's how you hold space for someone. It's just being there with them and you feeling good.
Yes. And that's all like you, because you don't have to know how you're going to get there. This goes back to everything we say every week, right? You don't know how they're going to have to know how they're going to get there. And you holding that space means there's nothing to do in the moment other than, I mean, sometimes there is, or if they ask for help or support, like, great, support them, but let it a lot of times come from them. And that's like offering, you know, do you need any support with this? But also when you're sitting in that space with them in this time that does not feel good, if you have that vision, it's, I don't want to say it, like, it's easier to be there because you know where they're getting to.
Yeah. And
so you don't have to fix anything in the moment, because you know they're not going to get there in the next moment. It's the same thing as when I script with my clients 5 years out. Like, we're getting there. And so the moments that don't feel good along the way are a lot easier because we know they're not forever. Like, we're going somewhere.
Yeah. What would you say, Cass? I can see questions coming up, and then I've got them as well. The idea that there's almost this, I guess, just idea out there that we need to feel the pain of another person, or like, say somebody, one of our friends is sick, and in order for them to know that we feel their pain or that we are supporting them, that we need to talk about talk about their pain or be in that same place as them.
So I think maybe we separate this out into two questions that sound like, and you tell me if I'm right, what you're thinking. One is, do we have to be in someone else's and feel someone else's pain to help them? Or is that just the one question? I lost the second.
Yeah, it's kind of like this, I guess the two questions. Yeah, is that true? And I feel like most of our listeners know the answer to that, which is no.
No, you don't have to take on someone else's pain. And here, I think, is the most...
Ooh, yes, keep going.
You don't have to take on their pain. You might have your own pain. And it's okay to have whatever pain or not pain you have when you're watching someone you love or care about, like, suffer in any way or be in pain. Like, you don't need to take on their pain, because your responsibility is to feel your pain and or not feel your pain. And you don't have to feel their pain in order to hold the space. In actuality, if you feel your own pain, whether that is just like hurting from watching them, or you feel okay because you're like, I know you're gonna get through this, either of those is okay. And there's nothing that makes one of those more right. Like, just because someone's closer to you doesn't mean there has to be more pain or you have to hold the vision. Like, there's no rules. It's you feel what you feel, and because there's so many reasons it's important, but like, that gives them permission to feel what they feel.
Yeah.
And because there are moments in any sort of crisis that are okay, but if someone doesn't feel like they haven't gotten permission to feel okay because everyone isn't feeling okay and everyone's feeling everyone else's feelings, like, you lose the preciousness and the possibilities of those moments. So it's your responsibility to feel your feelings and let them feel their feelings. And holding the space for someone does not mean feeling what they are feeling. It means giving this wide open, like creating this safe container where they can feel however and whatever they want, because we as deliberate creators know that that is part of what leads us to our next step and how we get to what we really want, which is getting, if you're in crisis, is getting to the place that you're not in crisis, where life feels good and you feel loved and everything feels amazing and your body feels healthy and everything is wonderful.
I think it's really important to identify that experience of, like, when everybody's feeling everyone else's pain.
Yeah. Yes.
And how, like, confusing and overwhelming that is. And I think probably for a lot of our listeners, you guys are going to be leaders in this area. Like, you're going to be the one that has to stand up and say, okay, I'm going to do me, and I'm going to take responsibility for how I feel and let myself feel this. And the other thing is, like, when our focus is on someone else's struggle, there's no way we can feel good. Like, that doesn't feel good. We have to bring our focus back to what's going on inside us, and then by letting that be okay is you taking responsibility. And the more you do that, the greater freedom you give. This is just another way of saying holding space for the other person to actually feel their own stuff and not be worried about your stuff or somebody else's. And so that when we're actually feeling our own stuff, we can actually process our own stuff, and that helps with the healing of whatever's going on. So there's so many, like, intricate parts, but the most important thing is that you are being aware of what's going on inside you and knowing that you still always have, I don't want to say power, or control, but yes, power and control over what's going on inside you, and that however you feel is important and needs to be felt, but also knowing the better you feel, the more you're going to help this person, hold that space for that person.
Absolutely. And the the better you feel, which it comes from feeling your feelings. We are not saying like feel happy and go into the room.
Yeah.
Like owning like the better comes from feeling your feelings, because we always feel better when we're not resisting. And when you have that open channel, because you're allowing whatever your feelings, whichever they are, to be okay and to happen, you are clear. Your vision is clear. So you're more intuitive. You can read someone else a little bit better, and to see like, oh, they might need some water right now, or oh, I should maybe, you can follow those inspirations. Like, let me ask them, do they want to go for a walk? Versus that coming from, let me fix them. Oh, like I heard you need to be moving.
Do you need this?
Right.
Do you need this?
Yeah.
What about this?
Yeah.
And that's what happens a lot. Like when someone's not tuned in, and they just, in order to ease their own uncomfort. So this is what happens when we watch someone else in pain. It creates a lot of uncomfort in us. And then we're saying, I got to fix them so that I can feel better.
Right.
And that's what we mean. Like, don't do that. Take responsibility for your own stuff. And then you have access to how you can actually support them.
Yes. And say it again. Right? When we try and fix other people because they're uncomfortable and it makes us uncomfortable, whatever that feeling is, right? You're limiting your capacity to actually help, because you're doing it to feel better for yourself. But if you take care of, if you feel however you feel, hold that space, inspiration can come up. And that inspiration is, there's the part of your brain, and this is the same with LOA and trying to figure out the how versus allowing inspiration, right? It's the same, but there's the part of your brain that's like, oh, I can fix the problem. Here's what I can do. And someone else in this situation, I know they needed A, B, C. So let me ask, do you need A, B, do you need B? I think you should do this. I think, which can be overwhelming, because none of that is coming from inspiration. But when you give that space, like Jenny was saying, like that inspiration can come up. There's room for that part of your brain and your body and your mind and soul that's connected to that person that you love. Like that inspiration can come up as a co-creation of, like this is what I need in this moment. If something comes up, and it doesn't have to come up, but it's going to open that space. If something comes up, it's going to be more from inspiration than you trying to fix it, which is going to be more helpful, much more helpful in the end.
More valuable to that person.
Yeah, I like that you said valuable.
I think another important part to remember too is we might not always be in a position within ourselves to be able to support the way we want to. So that, sometimes I've had clients that have gone through this experience, are going through this experience. I've been through this experience where a loved family member is in a lot of pain, and it's too much. Like, I can't get myself there, into a place where I'm in that trusting, aligned place. So I have to take some time. So that's like a choice on my part to step away for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, get myself in a place that I can be of value to this person, and that's okay. So trying to force ourselves to support another when we are not, like, when we are in a place we don't have the capacity because it's too painful for us, also is just going to create a whole bunch of mixed energy and not helping anyone.
Yeah. And it can feel, especially if it is a crisis, like taking 5 or 10 minutes to feel for yourself, or like Jenny said, and I'd love for you to clarify a little bit, somewhat sort for our listeners, like get yourself together, some of the things that you mean in that. But when you get yourself together, you have your feelings. It can feel like, oh, I can't take 5 or 10 minutes away from this, but it will help. There is 5 or 10 minutes, and coming back with that clarity will be much better than just pushing through.
5 or 10 minutes, or a day, or a week, depending on the situation. Yeah, and it's like oftentimes, I mean, I remember when my mom was going through cancer, there was times when I was having conversations and I'm like, I just have to, it's too much. Like, I'm, watching her pain and her struggle, and I'm barely able to hold myself together, never mind support her. And it was better for both of us for me to say, okay, and then I'll call you tomorrow or something, and then like go take care of myself, have a good cry, have a good conversation, write some stuff down, process it, feel it, and then I'm able to show up as a full version of me where she can feel that support.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anything else you want to any other areas you want to go into with this, Cass, or summarize, wrap up?
I think we did a really good job and showing why you want to, it sounds weird to say take care of yourself in a crisis first, but like taking care of yourself really means all the parts. It means being human, and so that you can come with that clear self that can help create the after crisis, the better, the more amazing, right?
Yeah.
And so just that's the key, is to make sure that you do that.
And I think really an overarching thing to remember, like if someone you love is going through some painful situation, going through crisis, staying very connected to the answer, the solution exists. Mm-hmm. You know, like there's nothing to fix here. There's an opening to happen. There's more clarity to uncover. And how can I support their path the most? And really, I know I said one thing. I'm giving you like 5. But it's like really the same as we most effectively be in any relationship, is like give them the space and take care of you. And the answers and the next best steps all come from that place.
Absolutely. And even
knowing,
there are answers and there are next steps, even in things that are crisis or feel like crisis.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you guys have any questions on that, feel free to let us know, or comments, and hope you have an amazing week. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Go be awesome.
Thank you for joining us on the Manifest It Now show, where you learn how to leverage the law of attraction to manifest your dreams. Now that you're inspired, share the love and review us on iTunes. While you're there, remember to subscribe.